Multifamily Mindset
podcast. Think bigger.
Welcome to the Multifamily Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Zach Rucker, coach here at the Multifamily Mindset, and here with an awesome guest that I've had plenty of time to spend to get to know, call a friend, and love to just brainstorm with him. So I'm excited for our listeners today to get to hear from our awesome guest. And with that, Yohannes Cramlet is our guest today. Welcome, and super excited to dive into our conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much. Super excited to be here, Zach. And yes, I mean, you bring so much value all the time. I always enjoy our conversations because we wind up, I think when we talk, I always see these lights pop on in your mind and my mind. We're like, aha.
Yeah.
And those are always the best conversations where you kind of learn something from, the person that you're talking to. So always appreciate you. Love the value that you bring and excited to be here today and talk with your audience.
Yeah. No, I love it. We're always doing that. We're always bouncing ideas off, and that's
Mhm.
the fun part about this.
Yeah.
So, give the listeners a little bit backstory of who you are, what would you do before jumping into multifamily, and how long has it been since you also joined multifamily?
Yeah, so I joined MFM in 2002, July, if you can believe that. Wow. 2.25 years ago, right? A little bit of time. And one of the best experiences I've had, right? I've been able to grow personally through it, as well as meet awesome people like you and other students. And really, it's been transformational. Just that investment in us and learning how to work with others has just been fantastic. My background has been, I've been in commercial real estate for 30 years. Oh man, time flies by. I started my professional career with Marcus and Millichap as an analyst, and then ultimately an investment sales guy in Long Beach, California, and I live in Newport Beach, California. Had a lot of great success in Long Beach, kind of working on smaller, they called them R2 lots, where you had, a single family home in the front, and then you had maybe 5 or 6 units in the back. Really just found my niche there and was very successful, but quickly realized, hey, the money, the wealth was on the principal side of the business. So I moved over to that side and got to work with some great companies like Brookfield's Properties, which is the largest REIT in the United States. And Forest City, actually started with Forest City. They got bought by Brookfields, worked for Brookfields for a long time. Moved to Chicago in the right before the economic crash, and was working for gentleman Jonathan Holtzman with Village Green and building brand new construction apartments throughout the Midwest and Chicago and St. Louis and Detroit, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so I've been in the apartment space for a long time. In California, we were doing office to apartment conversions or apartments to condo conversions and a little bit of new construction, but mainly these conversions because it was just a lack of housing. And then when the recession hit, I moved over and it was like no funding, nobody was building anything. Moved over to the telecom industry because my skills translated very well. Well, a lot of people don't know about telecom industry. It's a massive real estate business. We're building telecom towers, right? Big telecom towers and leasing space to the carriers. So much like our business model. And so had a lot of great experience in that and excelled to become a leader in that space on the acquisition side. Really, really fun. We were doing outdoor stuff, indoor stuff, got to do a lot of crazy venues. The Freedom Tower in New York, Wilshire Grand in Los Angeles, a bunch of stadiums and convention centers. It was just really fun building these networks and then leasing access to them to the carriers. And started to get really, develop a really great income. And that's when I said, start investing. Lisa and I, when we started really making money, we started investing. We started in single family homes and bought a big portfolio of houses in Phoenix, Arizona. This is 2017, 2018. And quickly realized, hey, it's not going to work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, right? And so we bought our first apartment complex in Costa Mesa, did it by ourselves, sold all of our houses, kept one, bought our first apartment building and did it by ourselves, managed it, put all of our money in. And then we learned about syndications and we're like, oh my gosh, why didn't we totally messed up. We should have done it with partners. And So that was maybe 2001 or 2021. Then we discovered MFM in 2022, and then had some great success here, finding great partners and building some, being a part of some great deals. So this experience, especially with MFM, despite all that experience, the what was unique about what we're doing now is the ability, right, to syndicate and bring partners together and work as teams and be in private equity and have GPs and LPs. All that was new to me, but it was quite fascinating. So there's a great learning curve there. And then we've met also some fantastic people and just really value this experience through MFM a lot.
Yeah. Wow. So a lot of good experience, at least around this industry. And it seems like it's kind of gone full circle, starting from being an analyst with Marcus Millichap all the way to now, working through the whole system to now the ownership, can't even speak, the ownership side of it, the
Yep.
principal side, right?
Yep. But actually being a principal.
Yep, exactly. So it's been over 2 years since you joined MFM. It's been a journey. How how was that first year joining it? Like you had your own apartment complex that you tackled, but what was that first year in the program like? Just with for all of
Yeah,
our
it was.
listeners that are, just jumped in, they decided to sign up, or those that are thinking about it, or those that have been in, like what was that first year like? And then we'll fast forward to today.
Yeah, great question. In the beginning, it was very fast paced. There was a lot of shiny objects, and it was very hard to focus on one path. You meet some great people, and you're like, oh, I want to work with these guys or this deal, and there were just a lot of things to chase and go after. So initially it was very difficult to just stay focused on one path. And I think that was okay because, that kind of Wild West thing gave me exposure to a lot of different deals and people and ideas and strategies and personalities. And it kind of helps, mold and shape, hey, who do I really want to work with? Who do I really want to partner with? But it was definitely difficult, right? And also we had to learn very quickly because there were so many things that were moving and so many shiny objects, deals coming at us, right? People, different calls and da da da. We really had to figure out how to prioritize our time and put us, hey, what do we want? What is our objective? And like kind of focus on that. And come full circle, I think we did our first deal. It took us about 8 months, and we brought capital to a deal. And then we did our second deal, pretty close after that. Um, and, we learned a lot through that process, right? That helped us further define what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. I initially was like, hey, I'm going to do acquisitions. I know I love it. I love chasing the deal. But you know what I didn't like? Underwriting. I hate underwriting.
Yeah.
I just hate it. I
Yep.
did it for so long, right? And Lisa would say to me, she's so funny. One of the things I love about what Tyler teaches is like, hey, do what you love or you like. Lisa would say, Yohannes, you like to go hunt big deals and you like to chase things down and you like to connect with people and you love to do all these things. And like, she's like, I don't think you like being in front of the computer analyzing things and doing it. She's like, I don't. That's why I stopped doing it, right? I'm good at it, but that's why I stopped doing it.
Mhm.
And I always be trying to find people to do it for me. Hey, do you
Yep.
want to deal? Da, 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 da. And so yeah, just to bring that full circle is from that point when we first started to now, right? We have a very focused direction, and we know what we want to do, and we know how to look at partners, and we know how to assess deals, and where our weaknesses are, and who to shore that up with, right? What questions to ask, things like that. And that just comes with time and experience, right? You learn as you go. My advice would be, hey, just learn as fast as you can go, right? Just learn as much as you can, absorb, really, learn as much as you can and assess. I think that's a critical part. Assessing, hey, is that right for me? Is this really what I want to do? Are these the right partners, right? Am I
Mhm.
asking the right questions? And with time, you get to a place where you're like, okay, this is where I want to be, and this is what I want to do.
Yep. And it's a time aspect. There's
It's a
there's
time
nothing
aspect.
necessarily to shorten that,
Yeah.
because it is a learning that what you said is it's discovering what you really want, and no one can tell you what you want, unless someone that really knows you, like a partner, a
Yep.
spouse that can really tell you hey, no, I think you're actually better in this lane. But other than that, like no one can really tell you what what's best for your business, except for you, and you figuring that out. And I think that was a key point that you said is you tried everything. You went down, you learned it. It's it's pretty, I guess, confusing or overwhelming at times because there are so many lanes or shiny objects coming at you. But you kind of have to initially test the waters
That's right.
before you know, okay, no, actually, I want to go down this lane. Hey, listeners, thank you for tuning in to the MFM podcast. We truly appreciate your support and hope you're enjoying the insights from our incredible guests. We have one small favor to ask. Please leave us a review and rating. Your feedback means the world to us. And to show you our appreciation, we're giving away some great prizes to some lucky listeners who leave us a review. So scroll down, share your thoughts, and help us continue to bring valuable content. Thanks, and back to the show. Right. And I
That's right.
remember those conversations with you on acquisitions, and you're like, yep, I got this system built out and I just got my underwriters. I just need them to do their job. And then I'll follow this. And then you're like, all right, this is just a mess. Like, I don't want to deal with underwriting.
Yes, I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
And it's funny you say that because it's the same with Lisa. When she came on, I really felt that she would be fantastic at acquisition. She's a real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Global Luxury. She knows, I mean, she's so smart when it comes to transactions and like
Mm.
seeing things through. She's very detail oriented. People love her. She's, she's a beautiful person on the inside and out, and she just has such integrity. And, I was like, oh, you'd be so great at this. And she did not want to do it at all. And I was trying to kind of push her in that direction at first. And it kind of created a little bit of conflict for us. She's like, listen, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay. I need to let you do what you want to do. So I think, what you said there is perfect. It's, you can't force people to do things, yourself or other people. You got to have to kind of go through things and learn and figure out what's right for you and what's right for your partners, right? And that just takes time.
Yep.
Just takes time. Yeah.
It does. It does. And then even shifting that further to what you said is like, who are the people you want to work with, and figuring
Mhm.
out that piece and how they fit into the puzzle. It's like, well, they need to have that figured out on their end too of
Yeah.
where do they need to fit in, right? And what do they want to focus on to see if that's actually worth, partnering in situations.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes it's hard to say no, right? Because we all become, I liken this experience sometimes to college, right? We're all coming here. It's all exciting and new, and we're learning something new. And you create really some great bonds with people as you learn. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right business partner for you. And so I think sometimes people get scared of saying, I just don't think so, right? And I think it's okay to be transparent and be honest and say, hey, these are my needs. Does it feel like something, if you go out in the business professional world, people who are business professionals, right? It's very common for you to assess partnerships and say, hey, here's what we're looking for. These are my needs. Does that align with your vision? Does that make sense for you? Okay, yes or no. I think sometimes it's hard to do that because we all become so close and it becomes a personal relationship with people.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Does that resonate
Yep.
with you at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about with,
Yes.
with that piece. And, um, even with that is continuing to assess that partnership, um, consistently,
Yes.
even if values do align, um, that's great. They align today. That's going to help you get to a certain point, but then you reassess that every quarter, every 6 months, every
That's right.
year. You're reassessing that to make sure that still aligns. And if it
That's
doesn't,
right.
then okay, what's the greater good for the company to move forward?
That's
And if
right.
there's needs to make adjustments, that partnership, which sometimes you hold on because of the personal relationship, it's okay to release that and let that go. I've gone through that. I've gone through that with partners,
Yep.
um, in different partnerships, and it's tough. Like it is not an easy thing to do when you've built that relationship, but at least for me, and the relationships are very important. And
Yeah.
so it's not holding on to this business because of the partnerships. It's, well, the relationship's really important. So I
Absolutely.
want the best for my partners. And if that's going to be, hey, we gotta make a pivot, or we gotta take a step back, or someone's got to step aside, like we're going to make that move because that's going to be the best for everyone to
For
grow.
everybody. That's right.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
stakeholders. Excuse me. I want to tell you a story about I was working for this company, Village Green, and this guy, Jonathan Holtzman, who's arguably one of the like greatest real estate minds out there. He ran the largest privately held owner, operator, and developer of apartments in the Midwest for many years. And he recently sold his interest in Village Green and started his own company called City Apartments. It was actually a brand that he was working on at Village Green. And I learned a very valuable lesson for him. And this is probably more of a conversation about mentors, but when 2008 came and we were doing a lot of public-private partnerships. This deal in Ann Arbor, Michigan, they had a parking deck, the oldest parking deck in the country. It was built in 1910, a parking structure in Ann Arbor, Michigan on First and Washington. And the city put out an RFP and we responded to it. We won. And basically, they were going to fund the new parking structure, which is going to be 5 stories, 3 stories, 2 stories below grade, 3 stories above, and then a light gauge steel apartment building above it. And we were going to fund that. And then there was revenues from the parking structure and the apartments, and we had a whole revenue model figured out, all this great things. Then the crash happens, and we weren't able to move forward because we couldn't get construction, financing. At that time, we were getting 100% construction loans, right? And this was a great partnership, and we'd worked years to develop this relationship. And we had to say, hey, we can't move forward. And that was a very difficult thing to do. However, and this ties into our conversation about, hey, this is not a good partnership, or we can't execute, or I don't think it's the right thing to move forward. And we had developed relationships with the mayor and all these people, right? The city manager, and we've been at dinner and we're developing relations with these people. And, we had to tell them, we can't move forward. And Jonathan had to really, his strategy was this. Let's first of all, talk about why we can't move forward, right? And acknowledge that we want to, but it's not the right partnership in the right time for X, Y, and Z reasons, right? And then present that in a way where it's like, hey, we can't move forward with it. We value the relationship. We want to make sure that you understand our problems and we understand how this impacts you, but we just want to, move forward and try to find a solution in the future, right? If we can. And I liken that to this conversation because anytime you're doing sort of an exit with somebody, good or bad, right? You always want to leave positive, right? And leave people in a good position and be transparent. I think that's the key, being transparent. And sometimes things just don't work out. You can't control everything, right? And maybe it's you don't want to be there. Maybe it's the right not, maybe you've changed your mind. Maybe they changed their mind. But just go out as great as you came in. That's my philosophy. And I've learned that from him. We did do that on a couple of different projects with people who would continue to be our partners in the future, right? You're talking about a city. And we had to do that in St. Louis, and we had to do that in Chicago, right? It was very difficult. So I guess what I'm saying here is that it's a normal part of course of life and business, right? Is when you're in relationships with people, partnering with people, right, outside of your own firm, or like we're doing here, you just got to be transparent, professional, and be thinking about them, right, too, as you exit. I don't know if I'm articulating that well, but
Yeah, I get what you're saying because what I like to look at is like they got you to a certain point and progressed you in your life as well. And so even personal relationships, you can bring this into personal.
Exactly.
There's no difference really. Even personal relationships, they come and they go, of people that you meet in your life, and you might be really close to them for a little bit and then it separates.
That's right.
But hopefully in that time that they helped you progress and you helped them progress in their life in some way or fashion. And then when it's not beneficial, then things start to separate, or you do need to distance yourself because it's for
No
the greater
longer
good.
beneficial, right?
Yep. And so
Doesn't
it's
mean
always looking at how can you continue to progress and help other people progress in their lives,
Yeah,
either personal or
exactly.
professional. And there's a lot of people that hold on tight to relationships, even business partnerships, because they don't want to let go of, they feel like they have an obligation to stay
Yes,
part of
that's
that.
right. That's right.
And that's where a lot of tension happens and build up, right?
That's right.
and you hold each other
So wise,
down,
man.
right?
So
And
wise, man. That's exactly right. And you're right. It goes business. You think about the world moves based on relationships, right? Everything's relationships. So, every single personal, romantic, business, religion, family, it's all relationships, right? How you manage those relationships and recognizing if things work or don't work, exiting in a way that's fantastic, is not detrimental, right? And like we were talking earlier just about gratitude and showing gratitude for, hey, appreciate what our relationship and what it brought. Just at this time, it's time for me to move on. And that is I think it shows a lot of respect. It shows maturity, right? And just emotional intelligence. But it can be hard to do when you just really care about people, especially when you care
yep.
about people. Like you have a deep connection with people. And I'm that guy. I can't help it. I just like people. I am,
Yeah.
man. Every person, like if I'm involved with you is because I like you,
Mhm.
right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I like you. There's some aspect of like I like you a lot. I think you're very smart. Particularly, I love how you are with your family. I love everything about your values, right? And to me, I'm like, oh, that's great. We haven't done any deals together, but like that would be the first, prerequisite in us doing a
Mhm.
deal is do I like you? Do
Yep,
I think you
exactly.
have a good
Yeah.
value system? Like those are prerequisites for me.
Mhm.
So if we did do a deal, then it didn't work out, or we decided to move forward, it's difficult because I like you.
Mhm.
But you have to realize that you got to look out for yourself. You got to, put your own priorities first, is what I meant to say.
Yep.
But also considering people when you exit and just being, respectful of that.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
Yep.
So bring it back to
Bring it back. Bring it back.
bring it back, right? So that we're jumping into that first year, right? Of mentorship. You started getting into some deals, you started to figure out your guys' strength, which is on the investor relations side. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Yes. It's investor relations. That's where we have the most strength. And we really enjoy it. And it's interesting because, Lisa and I we're partners, right? The most important partner in your life is your life partner. I apologize. Turn this off. And, she is without a doubt the most important partner in my life. And I say that in the aspect of, I value so much of her opinion and da 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 and so on and so forth. But yeah, we're strong in that sense because I'm very I'm out there. I like to talk with people. I love developing connections. Lisa, she's that's not her strength. People when they get to meet her, they love her. Like, come on, where you been hiding this lady? That's what they always say to me. I said they come for me and they stay for her is what basically what how it goes
Yep.
down. Right. And our relationship is like that in general, and also in our business relationship as well. And what she's very good at doing is, I'm visionary. I like to see the picture. I don't like to get too deep in the details because I've done that. And I like to develop relationships and I like to craft stories and do these things. And she's very much about detail. She should have been an underwriter, to be honest with you. She loves to sit there and think through it and coordinate and put all these pieces together. So where I am the relationship builder, she's like, "Hey, does this align with our vision? Does it align with what our our investors want? Right? She has the pulse of our investors. Right? Is that aligned with what their needs are or wants are or what's happening in the marketplace? So yeah, we've definitely found that niche. Where before I said, "Hey, let's go do acquisitions together," and that didn't work out. So we've landed here, and it's been a great space.
That's awesome. So
Yeah,
what have you guys been able to accomplish now that you've dialed that in? You did a couple of deals your first year into the program. What's happened since?
yeah. So we've done a lot of things, right? So now we've eight. We're currently partners on 7 deals. We've exited two. One being our first one together, where we did everything. That's funny. I laugh about that because I think that's the reason why I hate underwriting. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do any detail oriented task. Period. I just don't want to do it. My brain is. I'm retired up here mentally.
Yeah.
Um, but no, we've exited 2 deals, including the ones that we did by ourselves. So we acquired two in Southern California, one in Costa Mesa, and then one in Los Angeles that we did acquisitions, underwriting, blah blah blah. One was ourselves, one was with partners, in a JV deal, and then we came to MFM Worlds and Fund Syndications. We've now partnered on 7 deals. We've put a fund together for an 8th deal that we did with, I can't believe I'm forgetting their name. Big operator, $2 billion at Arizona, Rise 48. So we did a fund model through them and invested passively in their fund. That was great. We've actually done one deal, an acquisition deal in Atlanta, but the rest of them have been raising capital. And we just recently closed on a deal in Santa Ana, California, with it's actually a debt fund. So we went from equity to debt and partnered with the Arizona Nurses Retirement Pension Fund and a builder out of Orange County. And so we developed relationships, got to talking with people, understood there was value, had the ability to bring some capital in. We were able to deliver our investors a huge amount of depreciation because the builder didn't want it. And so we were able to deliver and position ourselves in a great way and deliver value to our investors and deliver value to ourselves. So, I think about last year, we decided, hey, let's go full in on this investor relations thing. It's just, there's an opportunity to really make an impact in this space, impact for us personally and our financials. It gave us more impact to sponsors, right? So that we could start working with the better ones. The more capital you have, the more of an impact you can have on deals. The more of an impact you have on deals, the better economics you can get. We learned that through working with Rise. And then, the more impact that we were having on our investors. So, capital really is the pivot point, right, for all of this. The only reason why syndications are blowing up, right, is because now you just have availability of capital, right? Yep. 15 years ago, you and me, we couldn't go to everyday investors and say, hey, you want to invest in this syndication? You want to buy a security in this asset? You can do that. But when that happened, right, when the laws changed, it just opened up new capital markets. That's why multifamily has been exploding, really, is the syndications. It's all this availability of capital, where traditionally it was for, institutional guys or the larger investors, let's say. People had a lot of money, right? So we recognize this, that capital was a leverage for all of this, everything that we're doing right now. And the people who have the most leverage in this industry are the people who have the most capital. So I say that in the sense of like, okay, it's great to go out and get a deal. And we still love chasing deals. And I do that for my professional career too. But, going out and getting the deal, that's a very kind of a special skill set. But that deal wouldn't happen unless there was someone had the availability to bring that capital forth. And ultimately, that window that we have, right, that 3 months to raise this capital, right, yep, tens of millions of dollars, that skill set is very unique and can translate into multiple industries, right? It's basically sales. And that's what Lisa and I have been doing for, our professional careers, is sales, site acquisition, sales, development, right? All these things. So it's kind of a culmination of all of our experience. And we happen to love it, and we think it's fantastic, right? And so that's where we're at now. We'll continue to grow that. I think in the future, right? Initially when we came into this, Zach, we wanted to develop a full-scale development company, right? That was it. Oh, great. We're going to have acquisitions. We're going to have asset management. We're going to have this, which is a big undertaking. Because that was my background, right? It was like, undertaking. Yep. Big lift, right? Yep. And then, as I started to work with people, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a lot harder. Where do I want to sit in this whole thing? And, I'm 50 years old now, and I'm like, okay, I think I don't want to be, the guy who is underwriting deals. I don't want to do that. I want to be in a position where I have the most leverage and it can make the most impact. And so that's why we've been focusing on this, is leverage, impact, value. How can we help people? How can we help ourselves, right? That first deal that Lisa did, when she raised capital for a deal, she hadn't done that before, right? But so I was out there, the voice, and then we'd have these calls and people were like, who's this woman? She's brilliant. And, we'd wind up getting investors to come on. But that was a skill that we learned over time, right? It's not something that not everybody knows how to sell, right? Mm-hmm. And so we feel special that we had that skill set. And now today, right, we're in a position where we want to help others develop that skill set and really make an impact on their lives, make impact on the deals that they want to be a part of. I hear so many people. We was on this call the other day, and this young lady was telling me, she's like, oh, I'm trying to raise money for this deal. We closed it, but now we need the rest of the money. And, I can't seem to get investors to follow through, right? She's like, they say they're going to do it, but they don't. And I was trying to help her, coach her through that. And I see that so often. Have excitement, they want to do this. And I love that. I love the passion. and the desire and like the excitement about their deals. You had an awesome deal. But they didn't know how to really build that relationship and develop trust and move on to that next level. So that's what we're focused on now, is helping other people develop that skill set, right? So that they can, benefit and, have a bigger impact on their lives. So I'm going to let you speak because I've just been speaking for
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
past 3 minutes, right? I was so excited to tell you about this and just share the story with you, but that's our focus now.
yeah. So the big focus, just recap, has been you guys dialed in on your skill set, and you then honed in. And as you guys were going through it, taking massive action, it was the best way to learn how to get better and get better and get better at this, which then leads into now turning around and helping other people, right? And that's
That's
what
right.
we're all about in this industry. And that's what's so awesome about just the multifamily industry, is we're always learning and then turning around and helping others.
That's right.
So with that, like
Because it's all
what's
about value, right? It's
yeah,
all about value and being selfless. That's one of the things I love about you and a lot of the people that you've worked with is just like this unconditional value proposition that you guys bring and the time that you spend and all that. I know
it's
you have more
abundance.
things to ask, but I was just gonna say like you're one of the best at doing that. And it's hard to do that sometimes because you're so busy and you've got other priorities and you're trying to do your own stuff. But the reality is that when you do that, you build such strong relationships with people, right? Like if you were to call me one time and be like, "Hey, dude, so I know it's midnight, but I have this problem," and like, okay, well then let's you build bonds that way, right?
Yep.
And people really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Yep. No, I appreciate that that back, but it's the abundance mindset. Like there's plenty enough to go around. Like you said, the gates of the capital has just been opened, and there's so much capital to go around to get into these deals. Whereas I see a lot of people right now, they still are a little struggling to get capital into deals, and you deal with it with the election coming forward, but there's so much capital out there that hasn't been tapped into,
That's
and
right.
so there is an abundance, and so if we can help one another, it just that value comes back around,
That's right.
right? And so with that, I know you guys have dove in and figured out a tool to help yourselves grow that, but then you're sharing that with others to give value. So go ahead, dive
Okay,
into
here's the
your
sales pitch, man. I'm coming in. You ready for it? Here it is.
bring it
Yeah,
on,
you're
bring it
right.
on.
Exactly. So we developed in our journey, right? And I think we love MFM and we love how broad it is, and there's so much data. But we realized, hey, there's a when we first started, we started doing our deals, we struggled even, with our skill set, we still struggled with the tools that we needed to execute, right? We needed to have, a website, we needed to have funnels, we needed to have things to do lead generation, things to nurture our potential investors, things to help us close these deals with our potential investors, right? We also needed content, and we needed, to be able to write, blogs and scripts and those other things. And all that was very time consuming. It took a lot of energy. And it's funny because it actually, when we started doing investor relations, we realized, okay, we can't do both. That's when I was kind of that separation of, okay, doing a full service business, you just have to choose a role ultimately. You can't be acquisitions and underwriting, or excuse me, and investor relations, because they both require a lot of work, and they're kind of a special skill set in their own. And so we started, we got different software platforms, and we were doing these things. I got some different coaches, and we were spending a lot of money. So we found a solution set that allows us to for minimal investment of money, be able to have all the tools that we needed to be able to do what I just described: attract investors, nurture investors, close investors, right? Understand what social media platforms, this, that, and the other. And so we launched that last year at Peak Partnerships. It was Ultimate Partnering in San Diego, and it was called Follow Up Boss AI. And since then, we've definitely grown. The company has grown. We went from having, a few subscribers like yourselves. You're one of our very first customers, to now having 60 customers or people in our community, right? And we've now raised almost $100 million in the last, let's say, 15, 16 months. And not us personally, but people in our network. And our program has evolved from just being not just the software, but now being the mentorship or the training combined with the blueprint, right? To help you not only learn how to execute these, there's a strategy to get from A to Z, right? And we have a thing that we call the Capital Raising Quick Start program, which takes you from 0 to $2 million in soft commits if you can execute this blueprint. And we give people the blueprint and then tell them how to use these tools to execute that blueprint. We've had a lot of great success stories with that. People who've raised, $1 million, some who've raised $500,000 to start, and we have one person in our community. I'm so proud of him, who is in law enforcement, and he came in, and his very first deal, man, he raised $800,000, and then literally the next deal, like 6 weeks later, he had another $1.2 million of soft commits. Wow. And he was able to invest that into another deal. It wasn't our deal, but we put him with a partner who shared our values, systems, and our beliefs around the investor experience. And he was able to put that money into another deal and get a GP partnership. And what we're teaching people here is kind of what I like to call next generation investor, relations, right? Not the old way of raising capital, but the new way of raising capital, which leverages social media, which leverages technology, which leverages, understanding investor and just people's psychology, generally speaking, how people make decisions, why they make decisions. And it's really about building credibility, building trust, understanding, like, a lot of people are out there pitching deals, right? Hey, I got this deal. It's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And they don't know you, right? Like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
What do you do, right? Like, it's great that you have this deal. I saw it on social media. Great. But who are you? And what do you stand for? What are your values? Like, how do you look at this? And how are you going to save my money? And they just don't have any credibility in the space, right? And credibility is not hard to build if you understand what that means, right? If you understand how people make decisions. If I was getting on the phone with you today and be like, hey, Zach, I have this great, sports stadium I want to sell you, and it's going to give you these returns, and people are going to know, well, how are you someone that is in sports stadiums, right? What qualifies you to be in this space? And that's the piece that people are missing a little bit. Is it just like everything? It just takes a little bit of time to position yourself as a thought leader, right? And if you look at all the greats in the world, right, the people who raise billions of dollars online, they're able to do that because people know them, right? There's exposure. People look at them as a thought leader. And it's not anyways, and that's what we're working on right now, right? Is, hey, let's take you from being, even though you still have a full-time job, let's take you from being, with one of our students, a law enforcement guy, still be a law enforcement guy, but now you're a law enforcement guy who does real estate, right? And now you're a law enforcement guy who does real estate, and you're successful, and you have all these people, and I'm learning from you, and I actually go to you when I have questions, right? And you're teaching me new things, and I didn't know about